this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Ramona Fasula, natural health expert, author, certified holistic health coach. Welcome to the show, Ramona.
Thank you so much, and thank you for pronouncing my name correctly, because everybody seems to mispronounce it. So I thank you for that, and I thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak on your show. It's natural health is something that I'm so incredibly passionate about, and I just love talking about it. So I thank you very much.
You are welcome to the show. You are welcome to India in this natural, in this online form. And I'm sure here in India we value a lot about naturally produced food and everything else. So that is where a lot of things we will be able to understand better. But not only in India, I'm sure a lot of people all across the globe will be able to benefit from this show right now and later on in audio as well as in blog posts. So my first question to you, Ramona, is to understand, that when you say let's be naturally healthy, what does it constitute? Is it about just food or is it beyond food? How does one get started? What are the things one can look at within living, being healthy naturally?
It's a really good question. So it definitely goes beyond food. Making sure that you're staying away from those processed foods with all the toxic chemicals. I'm very big on supporting my clients with a plant-based diet. Making sure that you're eating enough fiber. Right? Fiber is super important for the microbiome, which is something I know that we wanted to talk about a little later. But, making sure that you're eating plenty of fruits and vegetables and whole grains, making sure also that you're doing things to manage your stress. Stress is so bad for the microbiome, for your heart, for everything. The good thing is there's lots of things that you can do that can help lower your stress levels. Making sure that you're getting enough sleep, drinking enough water. Most people are water deprived. I believe the number's about 70% of people around the world don't drink enough water. And there's even little things that you can do to make sure that you're doing that. For example, if you don't like the water doesn't really have a flavor to it, right? So maybe putting fruit in your water. I squeeze lemon juice into my water every day. Making sure that you're carrying a chemical-free, a BPA-free water bottle, having it next to you while you're working, when you're in your car, when you go to the gym. So super important. We need water to carry on every single cellular process in the body. If we're not getting enough water, it could lead to disease. So, naturally eating the right foods, getting enough sleep, lowering your stress levels, all of these things help support the person and supports the microbiome as well, which is gut health, which is something I'm very passionate about as well.
Right. And help us understand this gut health in the context of, what we are talking about. If as an individual, I think, okay, I have had it enough. I have had too many toxins, too many, wrong type of food, too much of difficult life, stressful life. How do I get started? Is there a step-by-step that I start living, healthy naturally, or should I just, just do one thing one day and then again get back to the old ways of living with chemicals? How does it work? What do you advise people to take that drastic step to
That's a really good question as well.
Natural, or is it that?
Well, first of all, when I mention gut health and the microbiome, it's the intestines, right? The intestinal lining, right? So making sure that, and we have good and bad bacteria in the gut. The problem is when we have more of the bad bacteria, that's when it leads to chronic disease. People that have diabetes, there's a link to that. There's a link to autoimmune issues. Even people that are having weight loss issues where they're having trouble losing weight, it could be linked to the microbiome. So there's trillions of different types of bacteria. So we want to make sure that we're doing the right things that are going to support the good bacteria. So things like eating pre and probiotic foods. For example, mushrooms, broccoli, onions, cabbage. These are all incredible pre and probiotic foods. Making sure that you're exercising enough, because when we don't exercise enough, that kind of feeds the bad bacteria and it affects the gut. Making sure that you're drinking enough water, eating fermented foods, that's another thing. Things like sauerkraut, things like kimchi or miso. Sourdough bread is also a probiotic as well. So taking those little steps, it doesn't have to be difficult. Getting yourself on a probiotic supplement too. Now that's something that I would definitely recommend that everyone that's listening talk to their doctor. Right, your doctor knows you better than anyone. So let them know that you're interested in going on a probiotic. What's the best probiotic brand for me? And the doctor can support them on that. So it's not something that's really difficult. It's just little changes that can make a huge difference, and you'll feel it. Your energy will start to come back, like your health will start to optimize when you really start focusing on the gut. And Hippocrates said that all disease begins in the gut. So when someone comes to me with a chronic issue, that's where I start. Well, let's talk about your gut health,
Right.
And then we kind of go from there. But it's not, getting healthy is not as difficult as people think it is. It's actually quite simple, and I make it simple for my clients.
Right, Ramona. So a lot of people who think, okay, I have been living my life, and now even if somebody has some chronic problems, they may not be very inclined. But let's talk about the power of food in combating chronic diseases, so that they find it that it is beneficial even at any stage to start with the right kind of food. Help us understand how can food combat chronic disease? How can one start with that? You also talk about food shopping 101 tips, so that will also be handy along with that.
I do. So inflammation is the underlying cause of disease, right? So the problem is the standard American diet, let's say, the Western diet, is loaded with things that are very pro-inflammatory. Things like sugar, things like salt. They're so toxic, and they cause inflammation in the body, right? So we want to eat foods that are anti-inflammatory. So when I say that, I mean things like cabbage, your vegetables, making sure that when you go into the market that you're focusing on the aisle with the fruits and the vegetables, right? Those have powerful anti-inflammatory agents loaded with healthy antioxidants. Anytime you see foods that have those rich colors, like for example, plums or eggplants, love eggplants. Eggplant is a longevity food, right? So, but it has that deep purple color. Those are anthocyanins, and they're very, very powerful antioxidants. The more color that you can get on your plate, the better. And I call it color coding your health. So when you're in the supermarket, your cart should look like a Crayola crayon box, in that there's a ton of different colors, and every color means something, right? So you have your purple foods, which are your longevity foods, things like your plums, your eggplants. You have red foods that are going to support your heart health, like strawberries, like cherries. Your orange foods are very anti-cancer, right? So things like carrots, things like apricots, green leafy vegetables, a detoxing food, right? So things like spinach, things like collard greens, things like mustard greens, all those bitter greens are really, really healthy for the heart. So all of these colors mean something. And it's funny because my clients, they tell me, I went to the supermarket the other day and I felt like I had a little mini Ramona on my shoulder. And as I was going through the aisle, oh, cauliflower, that's really, really good for brain health and for boosting your immunity. I grabbed an eggplant. That's a longevity food. So I want everybody to really understand the why. Why are these foods really healthy for you, right? So loaded with antioxidants, extremely anti-inflammatory. Those are things that are going to help to ward off disease. So color code your health next time you go into the supermarket. Make sure that your cart is colorful.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's a great way of putting it. But you see, nowadays the color of colas have seeped so deep into our lives, and that is where the sugar part also comes in. You also talk about salt. What are the alternatives one can look for? Is there an alternative for colas? Is there an alternative for salt? How should one look at it?
You're asking wonderful questions today. Thank you. So yes, regular table salt, what they do is strip out all the trace minerals. So sea salt, different types of sea salt, the pink salt, the Himalayan sea salt. Those are the salts that you want to consume. I would say food has natural flavor, so it's not really necessary to go overboard with salt. I don't use a lot of salt in my cooking. Very, very rarely, because I love the natural flavor. I love when you're cooking like a healthy stew, and those natural flavors just come right out in the taste and the smell. So you don't really have to use a lot of salt in your cooking. Sugar. I love honey. They actually, interestingly, they did a study of the healthiest people in the world, and it was actually beekeepers in Russia, because the bee products are so super healthy. Now, when I say honey, it needs to be raw and unfiltered. The supermarket honey, I like to call it, is not healthy because they're stripping out all of that goodness. Although there are supermarkets that are starting to carry the raw unfiltered honey, which is wonderful. So honey is a good alternative. Coconut sugar is another great alternative for regular white sugar, because it doesn't affect your blood sugar levels like regular sugar does. When you start getting into that high fructose corn syrup, the body does not metabolize it the same way as a regular sugar. It goes straight to the liver, and it causes something called fatty liver condition, which is really, really serious. And unfortunately, in America, we have the highest number of cases of fatty liver condition, and I believe it's from the high fructose corn syrup, but it's in so many different things. I always tell people, please read the labels. If you see something with high fructose corn syrup, put it down, and you'd be surprised how many foods that high fructose corn syrup is in. Really, really toxic, really
Right.
toxic.
Right. What about the colas? It has so much of sugar in it. Is there a way out of that, especially for people who have made it a part of their lives? Earlier, people used to think you look cool with colas. Now, people have it has dawned on it that it is not so cool. But how do you leave it out so that there are there other alternatives for you, some healthy drinking? What is that?
You said sugar, correct? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Sugar, yeah. Sugar's so serious. I mean, and it's addictive. Sugar is an addictive. I'll give your listeners a little secret on sugar. So I had a client a few years ago, and she said that she was addicted to York peppermint patties. So good, right? So she would have a bag of them in her freezer. And every night after dinner, she would reach for that. So the first question that I asked her was, when did she have that craving? And she said, after dinner. I said, okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to take some apple cider vinegar after you eat dinner. Do a shot of apple cider vinegar in water, right? Soon as that craving hits, just do that and let me know how you feel. So she comes back to me the next week and she says, oh my goodness. She said, the cravings went away. So apple cider vinegar is so good to stop those cravings. And it's good for a ton of different reasons. I believe that apple cider vinegar is a superfood. It's very alkaline, right? The problem with, say, the American diet, the standard American diet, is that it's so acidic, right? So you want to consume more things that are alkaline, and apple cider vinegar is one of them. Lemons, limes, grapefruits, very acidic outside the body. When it gets into the body, it's very alkaline. Anything that's alkaline is going to help you to lose weight as well. So yeah, little tip on that apple cider vinegar. It's such a great superfood. I actually have a whole book that is devoted to apple cider vinegar and all the health benefits that are derived from it. So yeah, I definitely recommend that. But sugar is very toxic. It damages our DNA. It damages our organs as well. So working with a health coach to get off of that sugar is going to be paramount in getting your health back on track. And there's so many people with that addiction, sadly.
Right. I just wanted to understand, Ramona, you are very young, you know about these things. But this problem has, when did we go wrong? We left the good things and went for the bad things. And now we are realizing, okay, we got to go back. How did we take this such a wrong step and chose only the wrong things and not the right things? That we are finding cure in just drugs as the first mode of dealing with our diseases, illnesses, not food in that sense, which has got so many properties that we talk about in medicine, about cholesterol, about immunity, about sugar, about everything else, about healthy heart. Help us understand, because you are in the US and there is a big market there. I understand it. But how do you think that, the whole reason of asking this is so that there is this mental shift which comes in, and especially the young generation realizes, not because of some health issue, but because of the general understanding that, listen, this is not good. We must go to something better. That way was the old way was the gold way. Why don't we go there?
I think that we need to get back to eating the way that our ancestors ate. I think that once those processed foods started to be introduced into the diet, that's where we went wrong. I think everybody wants quick, right? So the processed foods, the fast foods, which are very popular in this country. People are busy. They're busy with their jobs. They don't want to come home and spend an hour in the kitchen, which they don't have to, by the way. You can get a really healthy meal on the table in 30 minutes, something I actually did last night. I was kind of in a rush and I put a healthy meal together in 30 minutes, but everybody wants everything yesterday. We need to slow down, right, and make better food choices, right? So getting back to eating more vegetables, eating more whole grains. The Mediterranean diet is one of the healthiest diets in the world. They're eating the right things, right? So your monounsaturated fats, your healthy fats, they're eating their whole grains like quinoa and farro. They're eating lots of vegetables. They're eating fish loaded with omega-3s, which are good for the brain and good for the heart as well, and very anti-inflammatory, I might add, as well. So that's important, making sure that you're getting more omega-3s into your diet. But I think that we definitely need to slow down and realize that you are what you eat. If you're going to spend time eating all kinds of junk food, you're going to feel bad. Your body's going to respond to that in a negative way. If you're eating good foods that are nourishing, that have a ton of different nutrients and antioxidants in them, your body's going to respond in a positive way, and it's going to feed into your the optimization of your health. But it's really, I go into the supermarket and I look at some of the carts around me of people that are shopping, and they have little children. These are the things that they're feeding their children, and it makes me really sad, because when you're consuming that type of diet for a prolonged period of time, it will lead to disease. That's inevitable. We have children in this country, age 15. I'm working with a doctor that is diagnosing them with cardiovascular disease. They're children. They should be able to be children and be healthy and, get out there and exercise and have tons of energy. But instead, they're going to the doctors for a heart issue that could have been completely avoided. So, yeah, you are what you eat. And it's ironic, because I always heard that when I was a kid. And I just thought, that's a really stupid saying, like, I didn't understand that. And then when I became a health coach and I really started to dive into the healing properties of food, I got it. And I'm like, wow, we really are what we eat, because what we're eating becomes part of our blood, our tissues, our cells, right? And there is a better way, and that's what I teach people. So go to the supermarket, fill it with healthy foods, and come home and make different recipes. Experiment. There's a ton of recipes that you can find online. Do that, and I guarantee you will start to feel better. The first thing that will come back is your energy, right? And then everything else can fall into place. But there's so many things that people could be doing, but they're not. And it really makes me sad. And I can say the reason that I became a coach is because I watched my dad. He passed away from complications of diabetes, and I watched him struggle. He was an amputee. He was a dialysis patient. Pretty much anything and everything that could have gone wrong. Textbook case when it came to diabetes. And it's just really, really sad. I do not want anybody to suffer the way that my father did. It was really, really horrible. So he's the reason why I get up and I do what I do every day. I know there's a better way. I've seen it. I reversed type 2 diabetes with clients. It's all reversible. I really firmly believe that. You just have to have the right tools to do it, and I can help support people with that.
Right, Ramona, right. There is much to, learn about all this stuff from you, from any other source that they can get. But in your case, how can people know more about you? How can people take advice from you? How can they become your client? What is the best way to do that?
Oh, sure. They can go right to my website. It's www.wellnessbyramona.com. A lot of information on the site. I have some ebooks on there as well. I also have a book I wanted to mention on Amazon called A Health Coach's Guide to Heart Health. Very, very easy to read. It gives so many incredible tips. And I've had cardiologists actually read it, and they loved it, because it puts heart health in very, very simple terms. But yeah, they can go right to my website. My contact information is there. And I customize programs based on the individual. I've worked, as I mentioned, with all types of chronic diseases, and I'm really focusing now on gut health and doing all the things that you need to do to improve the gut microbiome.
Wonderful, wonderful. With lots of, talk of food is indeed a lot of food for thought. With these thoughts, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.